Kia ora everyone, it's Mary Jo here, Kiwibank Economist. So today's video is all about financial markets. Late last week, we saw a pretty decent sell-off in US equities, with investors pulling back from technology stocks. Apple shares plummeted by 8%, and share prices in Microsoft, Facebook, and Amazon fell by around 4%. Overall, the tech-heavy Nasdaq index closed the week around 3% down, which is its worst weekly performance since March. Now, we also saw a flight to safety. The US dollar strengthened, and yields on longer-dated US Treasuries declined. Now, last week's correction was simply overdue. Global equities have been rising relentlessly in recent months, and it's all thanks to central banks undertaking quantitative easing. There's just all this liquidity sloshing around in the market, trying to find a home, and with rates so low, investors have been pushed out the risk spectrum in search for higher returns. So we've seen investors pile into riskier assets like equities, and tech stocks have outperformed throughout the pandemic, as you'd expect given the move to online. In fact, to put context around last week's correction, the Nasdaq remains a striking 26% higher year to date. So clearly these tech stocks have been overbought, their valuations have been stretched, and last week's pullback was simply inevitable. Now, the equity sell-off was somewhat slowed by the latest US non-farms payroll report, which came out better than expected. Around 1.4 million jobs were added in August, which marks the fourth consecutive month of job gains in the US. The report also showed that the unemployment rate dropped by larger than many had expected, from around 10% in July down to just over 8% in August. The market was expecting around a 9.8% unemployment rate. Now, the monthly report tells us that the US labor market is slowly recovering from the historic setback back in April, when the unemployment rate shot up to over 14%, which is the highest since the Great Depression. Now, the financial markets initially reacted positively to the news. The US yield curve steepened slightly, and Apple shares turned positive in some buying late in Friday's session. But the report wasn't enough to stop the sell-off, so it'll be interesting to see how the markets open when the US returns from holiday. That's it for this week's wrap-up, and I'll talk to you in the next video.